Welcome back. I'm just going to show you removing an oil pan from a 2004 Mazda 6. I'm doing this as part of a timing chain replacement. You have to remove the oil pan to do a timing change in this car. So we're down under the car now. Oil pan is a cast oil pan. First thing, of course, we're going to drain this. Take the drain plug out, drain the oil from the pan, and then we're just going to take all the bolts off. These bolts, this is a 15 millimeter drain plug. Bolts in the oil pan are 13, and there's a shield on the front which is 10 millimeters, so that's what you need to take this off. And it looks like it bolts into the bell housing as well. A couple bolts right here, see that? One there. So we're going to take them out as well. And I'll do this, which I had loose already. Get apart. I put the plug back in. I've drained it pretty much. The pan's sitting here. Just get it out of the way. Just get it out of the way. I've loosened these two bolts that go sideways into the bell housing here. It's a manual transmission. And in front, we've got these 10 millimeters of shield and a couple smaller ones. We're going to take them off, get this shield out of the way, and I'm guessing there's a couple 13 millimeters buried under here. And we'll get them after we take that shield off. So I'm just going to go around, take these out. Okay, there's that shield in front of the pan. I'm just going to start with these two that are sideways into the bell housing. Get them off. One on either side. Just take them out first. The important thing to remember when you do these is check the length of them when they come out, because if they're different lengths, you got to get them back in the right spot. If they're all the same, it doesn't matter, but you're going to have to check these as they come out to see if they're different lengths. These are pretty long, and I have a feeling the ones going up into the engine are not this long. And you have studs in the front too. There's two studs on this side, on the front passenger side, and then I'm sure there's at least one stud on this side for that shield that was on there. Okay, so there's the bell housing bolts. Got them off. I think they're 13s. Yep, two-piece. I'm glad it came apart that easy. It's kind of nice. That's it for getting it off of there. We're going to reinstall this oil pan, and the first thing we have to do is clean this. And we want it really clean. So I'm just wiping it down with a rag right now, getting the excess oil off of it, and then I'm going to use brake clean and a rag to clean it off. We want it really clean. This is an O-ringed engine. It has an O-ring gasket, which is nice. We still want this to be really clean, no oil on it. So we've got to do that first. Just a little bit of brake clean on the rag. Chemical of 1,000 uses. Now, the next thing we have to do for this is where this timing cover meets the oil pan, there's a seam on both sides. And we're going to put a little RTV, about a 1/4 inch bead on both of those seams. That's the only place on this pan that you need to use silicone. Since it's O-ringed, you don't really need a lot. So we're just going to, a little bit on either seam here on either side. You don't need a ton of it. You just want to make sure you get it covered with a decent bead so it seals that seam. That one, actually just reach up there and do it like this. Okay. I highly recommend, once you torque this pan down, is that you let it sit overnight if you can. Let that silicone cure. Make sure it cures up. If you try to do it too early, it may leak. So I'll show you this later, but I have the torque sequence and which bolts actually have studs on them. I'm just going to put two, one in the front, one in the back, and get the pan in place, and so it'll stay up there, and then I'll start running the other ones in. Hopefully you can see this. Pan's been clean, but there's the O-ring gasket, which is really nice. I really like that in this car. All the gaskets are O-rings, which is, so they don't really leak. Alright, slide this in place. Just get a couple bolts started. I'm just going to run the rest of them in. Use my sheet that I have, my diagram, to know where the ones with studs go. Just going to get them all started, and then I'll start torquing them down. There is a specific torque sequence which I will show you as well. So we've got them all snugged up here. Not tight, just snugged up so we don't have to work quite as hard to get them torqued into the right spec. So we're going to then follow the sequence which I told you I would show you, which I will. Okay, so I thought this would crisscross back and forth, but it does not. It just goes around the pan, starts in the front corner on the studded bolt, and goes, if you're looking up at it, goes clockwise and torques them down. Doesn't crisscross back and forth, surprising to me, but that's what it says. So we'll do what it says. Got this on about 17 foot-pounds right now. I believe the range on this is 17 to 22. I don't like the 22 side of this. I prefer a little less. That O-ring gasket should be fine. Okay, they're all torqued. We have two bolts that go into the transaxle here, into the metal housing for the manual transmission in this car. But these are 33 foot-pounds, if I remember correctly. Line these up. Okay. That's it, 33. That's it. Torqued in place. Okay. Okay, there's a shield that goes in the front of this pan over these studs. There's a cover, goes back here. Flywheel. We have to put back in place. And that's it for the oil pan. Pretty much done. Okay, so there's the torque sequence for the oil pan. It's basically just clockwise. Starts, this is the passenger side. This is the back of the engine towards the driver's side. This is the front. And you can see this, these look a little different. These are the studs. There's one here, one there. These are all studs, but starts there and just goes clockwise around. It says 17 to 22 foot-pounds. I put mine at 17. Just didn't like the way 20 felt. I would do it in 2 stages, about half, you know, somewhere between 8, 9, something maybe 10, then go back around and do your second time around. But that's the sequence you'll need for torquing the pan down.